Hi all, this is an instructional video on how to assemble the V-Control Touch aluminium case from 3D Miniature Engineering. You've probably already watched the disassembly video. Alright, we'll get into it. There's very few modifications you have to make to the standard equipment for it to fit. The only two are the plug that holds the light sensor, so this little guy, that gets inserted through here, now, as the case is a bit thinner, it protrudes a couple of millimeters, you can see there. So what you want to do is you want to mark that with a pen on the line, and as it's perspex or acrylic, your best bet is to file it or sand it lightly until you get down to your line to the desired shape of the case. Might take a couple of goes to get the profile right, but yeah, it's very easy to do. And then the second modification you need to do, the plastic top that holds the LCD screen in, we just need to trim off this little tab here just to give the speaker some extra clearance, as it's all a little bit narrower than the standard case. Same thing, you can either clip them off with side cutters and then file it clean afterwards, or you can just linish or sand it flat as well. So you want to take it down so it's flush with this surface here. Alright guys, I'll go get that done and show you an after shot. Okay, we're back. So that's what that looks like, cleaned up. It's very soft plastic. Just a little nip with some side cutters and a light sand, get it flush. And the light sensor probe thing. So when you put it in and you're marking it and you're sanding it flush, I advise you use this outside face as your template, and you remove it in and out. Don't try to sand it or grind it while it's inside the case, because if you slip, you'll make a mess. Also, note that the face is on a slight angle and the back section's keyed, so you want to get your angle that you grind that face to 180 degrees correct to the keying. Very easy, you just hold it square and sand it on a sanding block, and just keep going bit by bit, creep up on it until you get it flush. Alright, cool. Let's get into the assembly. I like to start with the switches. Switches tend to be the most fiddly part, moving the case around and so forth. So once you get the switches in, you can keep the case a bit more stable when you put the circuit boards and the gimbals in. Alright, so whatever order suits you, left, right, dial switches, toggle switches. That front dial switch is, you use a 8mm socket for that one. Be very careful not to scratch the face when you're doing it. As I said before, you can put a little bit of vinyl around the edge of your socket, or a little bit of vinyl around the edge of your spanner. I find by far the hardest switch to install is this one here. It's the front toggle switch. What I've done personally is I've got a set of old needle nose pliers and ground the end to clear everything. Feel free to fast forward. Switches are switches. I'm going to line them up before you lock them down. When you put the wheel on this dial switch, the wheel's directional. You'll see there's a countersink in one side, and also you want to turn the pot. Make sure you get the pot the right way to the key, to the little drive dimple there, because you want a little bit facing forward, yeah. Cool. The other side. You will have to adjust the end point of the back locking screw from the standard plastic case to this case, as this case is a tad thicker through that section. Alright, switches are in. Okay, from the switches, go the circuit board, the LCD. That just fits in there. And this case goes on top. This is what actually retains it. Make sure you put that ribbon cable through that section there. Okay, now this is retained by the M3 by 6mm screws. Put them all in loosely and then snug them up. But it's quite important not to over tighten this, yeah? There is a tiny little bit of preload on the screen. Keep it snug. Yeah, that's all your screws in. So yeah, just nip them up. There's no need to over tighten them, eh? And finally, this will be supplied with the kit. There's a M3 by 10 button head. That will be your second one for the neck strap. As it's going into the neck strap, I put a tiny double Loctite on it. Okay, so we're now ready to install the circuit board. Quickly before we do that, we've got 3 little nylon posts to put on the screen plate. So the 2 are the same length and one's a little bit higher. So the way to distinguish the difference between the 3 is the higher one has a flat on it, like that there. You see that? And the one with the flat goes in the center. The other 2 go on the outside. The reason they are installed is because the standard case, the screen plate is on an angle. The new case, everything's square, so we need to adjust the mounting points for the circuit board so the circuit board sits flat across the gimbal posts and the screen plate posts. Okay, so now we put the screen on. Just need to be mindful of that ribbon cable getting fed up through that slot. One on the left, one on the right. There we go. And let it sit down there. Now you want to go through and pull all your wires out. Make sure all your wires are sitting clear of the posts and they're not underneath anything. There we go, perfect. Okay, can do it many different ways, but the way I like to do it first is put the first 3 screws in the bottom of the circuit board going through to the screen plate. Now they are the M3 by 8mm screws. Just locate them. Do them up a couple of threads, don't lock them down yet. Okay, once you've done that, you just make sure everything's aligned. And put in the other 4 M3 by 6mm screws. So one on the outside, outside, and the 2 at the front. So feel free to lock up those 4 front ones that go into the gimbal threads, and then go and nip up the 3 at the back, remembering the 3 at the back are screwing into plastic threads, so be gentle. Okay, then you can connect your ribbon cable. Slide it in there gently and push down the little lock plate. This one's a little bit trickier to get in. You can use a small set of pliers, just be very gentle with that cable. One's in. Then you can start clipping in all your points. So that's your screen there. It's your gimbal on the outside. It's your roller switch. Your other roller switch. Wrong way. Your speaker on the out there. Your other gimbal switch. We'll leave the antennas out of the way for now. Then you can start connecting up your switches. Please make sure you noted where they go when you disassembled it. Mine goes side rollers, so starting from the outside port here, mine goes side roller switch. Then next to that is the front little dial switch. Then next to that is the side switch, the side toggle switch. then the front toggle switch. Make sure your wires are all neatly sitting in there. And then it's the same on this side. So side roller switch, front dial switch, side toggle switch, quite fiddly this little bit, and then the front toggle switch. Now, as per the standard one, feel free to zip tie to this post to keep everything neat. Now you want to locate your antennas. So this one here slides into this plastic mount with the aerial facing up. There we go. And this one here, you run the cable underneath the other aerial and just clip it in there into the slot. There we go, assembled. So now make sure all your wires are sitting inside the profile of the case. Make sure everything's clipped down. Put your battery on. The cable wraps around there. Make sure it wraps neatly that way. That wire actually sits inside the battery strap. Like that. Okay, make sure where your rear case is going to screw through all these post holes here, here, and here, make sure they're clear of wires, eh? You don't want to be pushing the screw into the wire. So front two are clear, outside two, outside. So when it arrives, it should arrive like this, with your vibration holder glued in, everything attached. So start off with by clipping in the vibration thing. It's a nice easy fit. I try to line the wires up that way. You see that? Clips in. If you need to remove it for whatever reason, a small flat blade screwdriver can be inserted through there. You just lever it up like that. Okay, next you want to put the handle on, whichever way the preference is, up, down. You've got two little black anodized aluminium spacers. Go on there. Handle inserts. It's a M7 hex. Handles on. Just a little spacer there. Now to whack your two switches in. As I said in the disassembly video, make sure the same switch goes in the same position. You'll see the wires are pre-bent, so when you align it to the front, it lines up with the connection on the circuit board. Be quite careful not to scratch anything when you lock the switch down. What I've done is I have a little spanner and I've put some vinyl on either side of it so it doesn't scratch anything. Remember to align the switch the way you like it. Alright, switches are in. Then you want to put your on-off button in. So the way it works is you've got this little plunger. You would have seen that when you disassembled it. Drop the plunger in, hold your finger on it, flip it over, line up the symbol on the rubber button the correct way, put the rubber button on, push it down till it clicks. That's installed there. Alright, and that's the rear finished. Okay, so now we just have to bolt the back on. Make sure all your wires are clear of the lip. Make sure all your other wires are clear of the bolt holes, so when you push the M3 screws through they don't hit a wire. Now take your case, clip in the two side switches to the top of the circuit board. One. A little bit tricky doing it upside down. Two. Clip the vibration module into the circuit board. All good. And then lower it down. Okay, you'll feel it just clip together. Make sure it's seated nicely all the way around. And then do up your 6 screws. Remember the rear 2 or the bottom 2 are going into plastic threads, so be gentle with them. There you have it, guys. V-Control Touch aluminium case assembled. Remember, this is just a general guide instructional video, depending on your case. Make sure you take note of where all your switches, plugs, bolt sizes are and put them back in the same spot. Cheers.